Thousands of people visit Salem, Massachusetts every year, thanks to a rich fascination with its history and, of course, the witch trials. A popular site is the old Burying Point Cemetery, which features a memorial to the victims of the Salem witch trials. But just behind the memorial are the graves of the very people who accused, judged, hanged, and pressed these poor souls for witchcraft. The cemetery is more than a tourist stop, more than a gimmick to which one capitalizes on. It's a marker of history in a dark time in our country. There are the remains of people from a time that should never be forgotten. The hysteria surrounding the events cost many innocent people their lives and shined a light on the dangers of rumor and fallacy. Today we explore the history and the haunts of the old Burying Point Cemetery, a place some have called the most haunted site in New England, a site which is said to be saturated with restless spirits. So if you're curious, let's take a walk through history. History and misery oozes from the oldest burial ground in Salem. Also known as the Charter Street Cemetery, the old burying point established in 1637 is the second oldest cemetery in the country. Now, for its age, every occupant at the burying point unquestionably holds historical importance. In addition to its historical relevance, it was a regular haunt for Salem's native son, Nathaniel Hawthorne, author of the classics The Scarlet Letter and The House of the Seven Gables. Buried in the cemetery is Hawthorne's ancestor, John Hathorne, a witch trial judge who was wholly unapologetic about his involvement in the trials, even upon his deathbed. Nathaniel was so ashamed of his ancestors' actions that he added a W to his surname in hopes of concealing their relation. Now, since the first bodies were laid to rest at Old Burying Point, there have been many strange occurrences. These occurrences were widely believed to be supernatural, as this was the era of the witch. But it's also because of this era that many choose to discredit these accounts as paranormal, as a good case of hysteria. And yet, there are nearly 400 years of ghostly accounts at the old Burying Point Cemetery. So maybe there's something to these hauntings after all. Nathaniel Hawthorne once wrote, "There is a fatality, a feeling so irresistible and inevitable that it has the force of doom, which almost invariably compels human beings to linger around and haunt, ghost-like, the spot where some great and marked event has given the color to their lifetime, and still the more irresistibly, the darker the tinge that saddens it." The cemetery, which overlooks the South River, was built on land set aside by the early townspeople of Salem. This was the result of a vote in 1637, as Salem was in great need of a designated burial site after many colonists had died from sickness the preceding decade. This was especially so in the years of 1628 and 1629. The land that was set aside to become Burying Point was not significantly big in acreage. The grounds along Charter Street were, and remain, only 2 blocks long. Thus, the cemetery's capacity was reached after only 347 souls were laid to rest. But despite its size, this graveyard packs a paranormal punch. In the back corner near Murphy's Restaurant, a woman in a Victorian-era powder blue dress can be seen holding a picnic basket, and a young boy in short pants, black shirt, and hat, is always seen with her. When visitors attempt to capture a photograph of the couple, cameras often malfunction, but when the photos are taken, the pictures capture bright white streaks of light, paranormal orbs, and odd mists. It's believed that the Victorian-era lady and her son died in a 19th century fire. A few years back, two young friends dared to enter the burying point. It was the dead of night as the bold duo walked through the cemetery. It wasn't long before they saw something that they would not soon forget. A shadowy apparition rising up from the ground, right in front of a gravestone. Another duo, two sisters, had an encounter at the cemetery, but their experience occurred while on a ghost tour. Now, neither of them had ever stepped foot inside the gates of Burying Point prior to that night, and like others on the tour, they snapped copious amounts of photos. And later, when they uploaded the photos to their computer, they were shocked to discover what they had captured. One of the sisters said that she doesn't even have to look at the pictures to know that something supernatural occurred that night in the cemetery. For her, she says, those images she caught on camera still haunt her mind to this day. In addition to the other ghosts spotted at Old Burying Point, a frequently seen apparition is that of a lady in white. However, she seems to be a bit camera shy, so there's little photographic evidence of her manifestation. The lady in white has been spotted in buildings and even parking lots near the cemetery. According to a report from a local newspaper, the former owner of Murphy's Restaurant said he spotted a female apparition when he was working alone at 3 a.m. He was on the second floor and looked up and saw a woman looking down at him. He did a double take and she vanished. So, who is the lady in white? Well, within the Witch Trials Memorial, one commemorative stone honors witch trials victim Giles Corey. However, his second wife, Mary Corey, was also buried at the Old Burying Point. A small white gravestone with the words Mary Corey, wife of Giles, marks her remains. Historians surmise that Giles was very much in love with Mary. In fact, she is considered the love of his life. Oddly, the lady in white has been seen coming from the general vicinity of her grave marker, and many believe it's her spirit that continues to levitate across the cemetery, headed toward the area where her beloved husband was pressed to death. Now, based on encounters, Giles Corey's spirit simmers with post-mortem resentment after being crushed to death under a pile of stones. However, if anything has the power to undo the curse unleashed by Giles Corey, it certainly is enduring love for his second wife. Perhaps Mary's spirit is searching for her tortured husband, and if the two spirits finally meet, the curse will be undone. Sensitives who have visited Old Burying Point have reportedly become overwhelmed with a sensation of sadness and despair. Even while just walking through the graveyard, the heavy feeling of depression descends and sends innocent passers-by into feeling as though there is little hope to be found in the world. From the memorial for the wrongly accused, situated in the front of the cemetery, to the headstones of their pious chastisers, Old Burying Point Cemetery is a step back into a time when the line between the wicked and the innocent blurred. Others who were laid to rest at Old Burying Point include Mayflower passenger Captain Richard Moore and the last governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Simon Bradstreet. The graves of these historical figures and more can be visited from dawn till dusk, and entrance is free to all of those who are respectful As for the miscreants, they may not pay with their cash, but they will with their eternal souls. So vandals, you are hereby warned. And to all others, remember to stay on the path once inside the gates of the old burying point. Thank you for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to leave a comment. I love reading your thoughts about each subject we cover. Now, we have a Patreon account and a merchandise store. Links to both of those are listed in the description below, as well as links to all of our social media. We're hitting the road again very soon with another on-location video, so we hope to see you next time as we explore more curious history. Take care.